Matt Hancock's here, and welcome back to this video sequence on digestive and intestinal health. Now, today we're going to take a journey through the intestines. So our food has been digested in the stomach, or not, as the case may be, and is going into the intestines. And according to Sherry A. Rogers, she quoted, "The road to health is paved with good intestines." And you know, this is very, very true. The intestines have a very important role to make in terms of this is where all the assimilation of the nutrients from the food and the absorption takes place. Okay, so after the food has been digested in the stomach, it goes through into the small intestine, and so that's where we're going to start our journey. So the intestinal system then, it basically takes in the small and the large intestine. So the small intestine is where the food is absorbed, so we assimilate the nutrients out of the food that we eat and then use those nutrients within the body. And then the large intestine is obviously where the food is eliminated. So basically what we're going to talk about is, first off, is the functions of the small intestine. Now, there is once basically in mixing, so the small intestine is basically an incredibly long muscular tube which pushes food back and forth to fully bathe it in enzymes and bile in order to break it down. And this happens at the very start of the small intestine, so the duodenum. Now this is where a little bit of digestion takes place, but the main part of the main role that the intestines have is the absorption. The length of the small intestine in an adult human male is about 22 feet, 22 feet 6 inches to be exact, and in an adult female it's 23 feet and 4 inches long. It's an approximately 2.5 to 3 centimeters in diameter, so it's absolutely massive when you are to unwind it. Now, the duodenum then is the major portion of the small intestine where enzyme secretion takes place. The named enzymes end with the letters A's. So we're talking about sucrase, which breaks sucrose into glucose, maltase, which breaks maltose into glucose, and lactase, which breaks lactose into glucose. Basically, it also secretes peptidase to split peptides from protein and into amino acids, and lipase to break down fat into glycerol and fatty acids. So it has a major role to play in the whole digestive and intestinal tract. The small intestine is the area in the digestive tract where, as I say, almost all nutrients from food are absorbed into the bloodstream. Of course, to make it through the intestinal wall, the size of the food particles needs to be very small, down to the level of molecules. If the food has not been properly broken down by the time it gets to this point, it will not get through and cause irritation along the intestinal wall. If this process continues, the irritation will progress to inflammation and symptoms similar to those seen in Crohn's disease. Okay, so what can happen is that you can get chronic diarrhea or bouts of diarrhea and constipation, even bleeding from the intestinal tract can happen. So not great. Okay, so the digestion in the first place is so important. So you can see how the sequence of each of these systems. So you've really got to chew your food to start the digestion. You've got to have the right quantities of HCl and other gastric juice in the stomach to break it down further. Then the duodenum needs to do its job and just digest it even further before it goes in. It travels down into the next part of the intestine. So the sequence of events that the food is taken on this journey is really important for the whole digestive system to work and be functionally healthy. Okay. So common issues then, including what I've just said, will be constipation, diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut syndrome, etc. Now, irritable bowel syndrome is kind of like the umbrella term that we use for a lot of major symptoms with the stomach. So you might be suffering from constipation and diarrhea, flatulence, or might have a swollen, uncomfortable belly, and all of these might be classed irritable bowel syndrome. The other one that's kind of coming to light a bit more now is leaky gut syndrome. Now, it's a relatively new condition. It's kind of coming to the forefront more and more as people report symptoms like increased food allergies, autoimmune diseases, fatigue, poor digestion, cramping, and diarrhea. So some people may think it's irritable bowel syndrome, but then it's kind of going under this other category now, leaky gut syndrome. Now, the name leaky gut syndrome pretty much explains what is going on in this disease. Now, the intestines are kind of, what's happening is that they're allowing larger particles into the bloodstream, which cannot be utilized by the cells and are seen as kind of foreign invaders by the immune system. So every meal, a new group of foreign molecules ends up in the bloodstream, making the immune system fight them off. So in a short amount of time, the immune system becomes exhausted, and the constant signal to be, on alert kind of wears out the adrenal glands. Stress hormones become depleted and chronic state of fatigue ensues. In fact, some research suggests that many cases of chronic fatigue syndrome may have their root cause in leaky gut syndrome. So it's really, becoming at the forefront of a lot of issues with gut health. So, do you need intestinal support? So I'm going to throw a few questions at you, like I did when we were going through the stomach. And again, all I want you to do is just kind of tally up how many yeses, so how many of these actually relate to your symptoms at the moment. So, does roughage or fibre cause you constipation? Do you get indigestion or fullness that lasts 2 to 4 hours after eating? Do you experience pain, tenderness or soreness on your left side under the rib cage? Do you get bloated and uncomfortable after eating certain foods? Do you have excess gas or foul smelling flatulence? Are your stools undigested, foul smelling, greasy or poorly formed? Do you have dry, flaky skin and or hair? So if you've answered if you said yes to 3 or more of those, then this could indicate a lack of pancreatic enzymes, which will cause you to have undigested food in your stools. If it's foul smelling, it's not being adequately broken down into its smallest components. And if it's greasy, you're probably looking at poor lipid or fat breakdown and absorption. So, although I really don't want to go all Gillian McKeith on you and get you to start, putting your stools in the post to me, what I do want you to do is just take more notice over what's in the toilet, so that you can kind of see if this is maybe what's going on. Now, as well as answering yes to those, what I want you to do is have a look at these next few questions. So, do you frequently have the feeling that your bowels don't empty completely? Do you get low abdominal pain relief by passing stool or flatulence? Do you alternate between constipation or diarrhea? Or do you more commonly experience one or the other? Do you pass dry or small stools? Do you pass a lot of foul-smelling flatulence? Do you have more than 3 bowel movements a day? Do you use laxatives? And do you notice a white coating on your tongue? Now, if you have answered, if basically any of those questions there are an indication that you have an issue with your large intestine. So not only are you lacking enzymes, so if you're 3 or more from the first bout of questions, not only are you lacking enzymes, but you're also lacking a healthy larger intestine as well. And so rather than just having a proactozyme to help with your the enzyme and the breakdown of food, what you actually need is what we call Bowel Build. Now this has enzymes. This is a fantastic product because what it has is it's a key system product for the intestinal system. So it's formulated for the digestive and intestinal system. So it provides, the HCl, the pepsin, and the pancreatin to aid digestion in the upper gastrointestinal tract. But it also basically has psyllium hulls, kelp plant, and chlorophyll, which will provide the needed bulk to aid the problems with your lower intestine, okay, by encouraging proper flow of waste and to detoxify the colon. So this product here is absolutely amazing if you have problems with with both your upper and or your small and your lower intestine, okay. So the lower intestine is all about obviously the transit time, okay, or the elimination of waste. So we're going to delve a little bit more now into the large intestine. This is basically where the remainder of your food is prepared for elimination. So it's the tail end, so to speak, of the process we've been discussing over the last few videos. Now, when you eat or bite food, you'll probably be inside you anywhere between kind of 14 and 22 hours. That, of course, varies per person, but the site where it will remain the longest is the large intestine. So it goes through your stomach in about an hour or so. It's in your small intestine for a few hours, 2 to 3 hours, and then it spends the rest of the time in your large intestine until it's eliminated as waste. So we want to be regular, we want to be going each and every day. So if you're not going every sort of 24 hours or each and every day, then you do need to improve your transit time. Okay. Now, the large intestine's primary role is to dehydrate what remains of the food that you ate. So removing as much water from it as possible before compacting it into feces through elimination. So a few things are also absorbed in the large intestine, but most of that job has already been completed by the small intestine, and so by the time the food gets into your large intestine, that's kind of been done, yeah? So it's not a sexy topic when we're discussing bowel movements and the state of your feces, but really it can tell us a lot about the health of your digestive system. So it is important to take a little bit more notice over the state of your stools, especially if you've answered yes to a lot of these questions we've been posing to you in the last few videos. Okay, so a healthy bowel movement shouldn't float or sink like a lead weight. Okay, so basically hover somewhere in the middle of the toilet, and you shouldn't see undigested food in your stool. Okay, if you do, then it's a couple of things. Basically, the enzymes, like we've talked about before, it could be HCl, okay, but you're not digesting your food properly. It could be from the stomach, or it could be from the start of the small intestine, but there'll be a dysfunction there of some sort. Now, you must realize that if this is still happening, so if you're still having these issues and you have gone through the last few things, so you are chewing your food, you are giving yourself enzyme probiotic, and you have looked at enzymes, then you really need to address this thing now, because if you have undigested food in your stools, it means you're not absorbing the nutrients from the food. Okay, so regardless of how good you're eating or how good you're being on a particular diet, all right, you're not supporting your system enough from the food that you're eating. So it won't be doing its job properly, and it will make it less effective for obtaining your overall goals, whether that be, just health, vitality, or especially if you're trying to lose weight. Your results are going to be very, very minimal if you haven't got your digestive system working. Okay, so remember what I said before. It's not just about the nutrition that you go and buy from the shops or that you put on your plate. You've got to assimilate them and eliminate the waste, and do that effectively. Okay, so what we need to really look at is fiber. All right, now, because if your transit time is too slow, you can end up with something called enterohepatic recirculation. Now, this basically means that things that were leaving your body in the form of feces stay in too long. Okay, and you can reabsorb some of them into your gastrointestinal tract. Then those substances get back into your system. They can cause internal toxication. So basically, if you can get your transit time is very, very important. On the other hand, if your transit time is too fast, you don't get enough time to absorb the nutrients, and you don't fully benefit from the foods that you eat. So it is easy actually to do a little test for your transit time, and all you need to do basically is start by eating a cup of sliced beetroot. Now you can then make a note of the exact time that you eat and keep watching evidence of the beetroot. Yeah, so the water in the toilet bowl might turn a little red. You might see a hint of red in your stool, or red when you wipe. Either way, that is evidence that the beetroot has passed through your system, and that will give you your transit time. So if it's less than 6 hours or more than 24, then we need to go over obviously the previous lessons we've talked about. If you are doing all of those, then you've got a multi-strain probiotic. You're eating the right foods. You're definitely chewing your food, and you've got enzymes if you need them. Then what you need to do is make sure that you've got enough fiber in your diet, okay? Because no discussion about large intestine would be complete without talking about fiber. In my opinion, simply adding fiber to your diet is not going to fix most people's problems, but it will certainly help move things along, so to speak. If you've got other things, if you've sorted everything else out first and there's still a problem, then fiber will be the issue. But consequently, you can't just add fiber to your diet if you've had all these other issues and expect it to help. It will help, but it won't cure the problem. So that's why I've done these video sequences, this video series like a sequence, so you can work through each of them one step at a time, and then you've got everything covered. So typically a Western diet is very, very low in fiber, okay? And research shows that a low fiber diet is directly related to obesity and a variety of other diseases. Now, fiber obviously plays a key role in controlling cholesterol, blood sugar levels, and provides dietary bulk to maintain a healthy intestinal system. It absorbs toxins and unabsorbed fats in the bowel and eliminates them. Okay, so its most common benefit is the regularity that it promotes. So high fiber diets have also been shown to reduce the risk of certain health conditions. High fiber foods such as legumes, beans, whole fruits, oats are also low on the glycemic index. A diet high in these foods may help lower the risk of type 2 diabetes. Alright, so really, really important. So why extra fiber? Okay, we need to be having around 30 grams of fiber each and every day. The average diet gives us about 12 to 15 grams. So 30 grams is what we're looking for. And I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to add an extra 20 grams of fiber into your diet just by making 4 changes to foods you're probably eating already. So for instance, if instead of having orange juice, for instance, you might be drinking orange juice, instead of drinking that, what I'd like you to do is actually eat a large orange. Now, what this will do is it will actually give you an extra 3+ grams of fiber, because a cup of orange juice has about 0.5 grams of fiber, and a large orange has about 4 grams of fiber. Okay? Instead of eating a medium banana, what I'd like you to do is eat a cup of raspberries. So this will give you an extra 5 grams of fiber. So a banana which has 3 grams of fiber and is probably seen as quite high for a fruit, in raspberries you get 8 grams of fiber just for 1 cup. Okay, there's a fantastic, raspberries are also fantastic because they contain ellagic acid, which is a compound with anti-cancer properties. So it's really good to get some of those berries down you. Instead of a side of rice, what I'd like you to do is switch that for a side of black beans. Now, a side of rice gives you about 0.3 grams of fiber per half a cup, whereas black beans gives you 7.5 grams per half a cup. So that's an extra 7 grams just by making that switch. And finally, if you eat pretzels, okay, if you like pretzels and you're eating pretzels, they give you about 1 gram of fiber. But if you switch that to sliced carrots with 2 tablespoons of hummus, what you're going to have is an extra 3 grams of fibre, because the hummus and the carrots give you 4 grams of fibre. Also, the bonus for this one is beta-carotene, because the pigment that makes carrots orange is a powerful antioxidant. It's also a precursor to active form of vitamin A, a nutrient that helps your immune system become healthy. Okay, so it's a really good, there's a good bonus there to it as well. All right. For me, fixing gut pathology, like I've said before, it cannot be overemphasized. So the large intestine, if this isn't functioning properly, just like the other parts of the digestive system we've been talking about, optimal health, including healthy immune function, simply cannot exist. So it's so important that we get this right. So that's given you 20 grams. If you're finding that you still can't get about 30 grams in your diet, there are 2 very easy ways where you can add the right amount of fibre into your diet, and these are provided by drinks. So Nature Sunshine offer 2 very high supplementation in the form of drinks powders. The TNT contains a balance of about 18 different sources of fibre, okay, plus an array of vitamins and minerals, because it's soluble and insoluble, and basically is giving you around, well, it's actually giving you around about the same nutrients that a kilo of fresh vegetables will, including fibre, vitamins and minerals. So it's an absolute explosion of fibre and nutrients. It's kind of got a natural orange taste to it. It has no added sugars. You can kind of mix it with cineprotein if you're used to that, or have it on its own. So it's very good. It gives you 12 grams of fibre per drink, 12 vitamins, 11 minerals, and tons of antioxidants. Now, some people find that the TNT, you know, it really is just a preference on taste. I mean, it's an absolute powerhouse of nutrition, but if you find that you don't like the taste, then you're not going to drink it, and so then you might want to try the LOCLO. The LOCLO is also a very high fibre food supplement. It's quite an exciting product, really. It contains fibre from 5 different sources: psyllium hulls, apple fibre, acacia gum, guar gum and oat bran. Now, each serving provides about 3.8 grams total dietary fibre, 3.2 soluble and 0.6 insoluble. So it hasn't got as high an amount of fibre in as a TNT, all right, but it tastes great. So you can kind of up your fibres with your nutrition, and then have that drink. Or if you find it hard to get enough fibre in, you may want to go to the TNT. So, you know, there's a little difference. One's providing you 12 grams, one providing you 4 grams, but it all depends on the taste. But what's really good is that they're both soluble and insoluble fibres. So it's really quite cool. So insoluble fibres, they, just in case you don't know, insoluble fibres absorb water, so it softens stools, moves material through the intestines, can clean in the bowel, whereas soluble fibre, they sort of bind with fatty acids and prolong stomach emptying time, so that sugar is released and absorbed more slowly. Okay, so it also absorbs toxins and waste, slows the rate of digestion, and can help reduce appetite. So you need both soluble and insoluble fibres within your diet, and both of these products provide those in good amounts. Okay. So what I want to talk to you about next time then is I'm going to just pull all of this together. So I'm going to just systemize it, run it through, so you have a real good, clear understanding of the digestive and intestinal system, and how to improve your total health and vitality. So until next time, I'm going to sign off. I hope you enjoyed this short video, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers and bye-bye.